Hey everyone, Cahlen here, and I want to talk today about my winter sleep system. So I live outside in a hot tent, and I've been living outside since June, and it's January 1st, 2022, and it got to about 5 degrees Fahrenheit and last night, and it's going to get colder tonight. And I've been experimenting with different things, but I want to tell you where I'm basically at the moment. So first of all, one of the most important things is making sure that you're wearing the right clothes. And these are basically going to be all of your winter clothing, basically your entire winter clothing system except for your rainproof layer. So that's going to be basically a base layer of thick merino wool. And I have that on every single level, including my hat, my gloves. I have merino wool gloves that are underneath my thicker gloves. My socks, I have a layer of thick socks. And then you're going to have your second kind of base layer, which is going to be a synthetic, and it's going to be kind of a waffle type thing. And it's really good for adding thickness with little weight. It's very durable, and it wicks moisture away. And moisture is really a key thing that you need to be thinking about that people don't think about. So when I tell people about this layer, they just don't take it seriously. But it's a really important layer. So that second waffle synthetic layer on top of your wool, and then you're going to have basically your fleece layer. So here I'm wearing my fleece. This is my third layer, and I have the two layers underneath it. And my pants, these are nice survival pants, but they're lined with fleece. These are also synthetic. You want the second and third layer to be really durable because you're going to be doing work and being outside in these. So then of course you have your waterproof layer, which you would put over these layers, but I'm not wearing those at night. And then there's the seventh layer of the Army's cold weather clothing system, which is like thick, right? It's like a puffy coat and puffy pants. So I'm wearing 1, 2, and 3 and the 7, right? So that's what I'm wearing, and that's what I would be outside in when it was really cold. And I'd be plenty warm in that. But when you go to sleep, your body's not generating as much heat anymore, so you need the added warmth of the sleeping system. So first I start with the layer that's going to keep things from getting dirty and keep things from getting wet if the ground is getting wet or if it rains and goes underneath. So this is just Tyvek, right? And so this is super lightweight, super tough, and the water's not going to get through it. Then you have to think about what you're sleeping on, and this is another thing that people don't think about enough, right? Super critical. You lose a huge amount of your heat through the ground pulling it out of you, right? The ground gets really, really cold, and when you're in contact with it, it's drawing that right out of your body. And all of nights when I've gotten really cold, it's always when I wasn't using enough for the thing that I was sleeping on. So normally this is kind of the minimum here. This is a Ridge-Rest Thermarest, right? It's a closed cell foam. It won't soak up water. It's very durable and very lightweight. It is a little bit bulky, but it's worth it. This is what I would sleep on in the summer, but I add to it in the winter basically a inflatable sleeping pad. So you can see this is an inflatable sleeping pad, and this thing is super comfortable, and it adds warmth. It's like a giant increase in warmth. Now I found that I was trying sleeping on just this without the Thermarest, and I would still get cold on nights like last night. So I found you do kind of need to actually combine these, or get a inflatable sleeping mat, which is maybe has the aluminum inside, which is reflecting heat. That might be enough by itself. Then this is a poncho on top of it. You see it's just wrapped around my sleeping pad. Whenever I'm sleeping on this sleeping pad, I always like to protect it, because if it gets a puncture, then you're basically screwed, and you won't be able to fix it until the next day, and even that's going to be a pain in the butt. So if this goes flat on a really cold night, you might have to stay up all night, right? And that could affect your chances of surviving over the next few days. So always protect it. This poncho is my raincoat. It's also during the summer and warm months. It's also my shelter, right? This is what I slept on underneath all summer. It was like my roof, and I don't need it to cover my sleeping mat because I'm not using. I don't need to cover the inflatable sleeping mat because I'm not using it during those months. So then I have a 0 degree synthetic mummy sleeping bag. This is what I'm using tonight. I alternate between two things here. So first of all, synthetic, no matter what, I would say go with synthetic. Now, down is going to be ultra light and ultra compact, which is really a good thing, but it's not worth it in terms of durability. If you're just going camping a few nights a year, then fine. But if you're sleeping in it every single night, you're going to have to be worrying about lots of different things, like it getting wet, for example. That's really the big one. If your down sleeping bag gets wet, it's going to get moldy, and you're going to get sick just from sleeping in it, and that's going to be for the entire rest of a lifetime of your sleeping bag, which could be for years. So if you're sleeping in it every night, you're sabotaging your health to a huge degree. So just that by itself, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to use down then, right? And also, if the baffles break in down, then you have this big hole of just where all the heat is sucked right out of you. So anyways, I think synthetic's the way to go. I'm going back and forth between this. This is it's kind of like a down type synthetic inside, so it is baffled. And then I'm also, but it's it's a mummy sleeping bag, so it covers your head and it covers your back, right? Now, I also have a synthetic quilt, zero degree quilt, which uses really the best synthetic insulation out there, which is Climate Shield Apex, and it's the thickest, which is 10 ounce. So that thing's super awesome. I really like that thing. The nice thing about a quilt is you're not wasting bulk and weight on the back, right? Because you're just compressing this down. It doesn't really matter. And so this is just added weight. As long as you have a good sleeping bag. But mine is my quilt is a little bit too short and too narrow. I didn't order the right size, and so when I turn and sleep on my side, I lift it up on the sides and it lets air in. So this is kind of what I'm going with at the moment. Plus, it's nice to have this covering your head, right? And so you can cinch this down, this whole area down, so it's just this little hole, and you can kind of really get in the sleeping bag and get covered up. Then, so the military has its own sleeping system, right? And this is basically kind of what they do. They have a summer sleeping bag. This is my poncho liner, right? This can go underneath my poncho as a raincoat, and then this would be like a jacket under the raincoat, and they're the exact same dimensions. Anyways, but it also can be, it's my summer sleeping bag. Now I use it to cover over the 0 degree sleeping bag. This is the same thing that the military does. But this thing is actually, it's in quilt mode, right? I can zip this up so that it's like a sleeping bag, but I can also zip it all the way down to almost the bottom, leaving myself a foot box, and then just cover this over, and then it has straps, right, which hold it down, right? So this holds the whole sleeping system together. This thing's called the Swagman's Roll by Helcontex. Highly recommend this thing, including and with the poncho, right? So let's see, is there anything else? So basically this is my sleeping system at the moment. Now normally I have something called the To-Go Systems. It's like a bivy sack. A bivy sack is a waterproof bag that covers your entire sleep system, so that you could basically just sleep out even in the rain without a tent, right? So it's good to have one of those things, but I've found that it's best not to use it if it's not raining or if you really don't need it, because what it does is it traps moisture inside, and even synthetics, if they get exposed to enough moisture, they're going to mold too, and that's going to be a problem. It's just going to take a lot longer. So anyways, and this basically goes for your clothing system too. Like if your head's in here, right, you're breathing out moisture, and it all kind of moves out of the sleeping system or your clothing system until it hits a layer which it cannot pass. Now a bivy or a raincoat is going to be that, and now you're going to get moisture buildup right in that point, and you don't want that. That's going to make you cold, and it's going to degrade your gear. So basically, don't use that unless you have to. If you do use that, then every morning you need to take that part off and let let your sleeping bag dry out, let your clothes dry out, and let also the bivy in your raincoat dry out, because if you leave that in there for multiple days, that moisture is going to continue every night to build up. And you also just, moisture comes out of your body, right? Even if you're not sweating, moisture is coming out of your body. Like a lot of the places where I get the most moisture is at the foot box, right, where my feet are. So anyways, that's basically the sleep system. I did want to mention, so I talked about the base layer for and all the clothes for most, but I didn't talk about the hands beyond the gloves. So you do want another layer of gloves, and if it's going to get below 0 Fahrenheit, you want a third layer of gloves, which is going to be like a mitten type of thing, which I have, but I've never had to use this year. Then for the feet, I have actually 2 layers of wool socks, Darn Tough socks. That's the brand. Highly recommend that brand over anything. I wouldn't even think about anything else. And then I have my boots are kind of thermally insulating, but I'm not, of course, not wearing them in bed. So I have very ultra lightweight booties, like with down in them, which I put on when I'm in my tent if I'm just sitting around, kind of cross-legged meditating or watching a movie or something like that, and then also in bed. Your feet, for me at least, when it's cold outside, the feet are the thing that gets cold and is most annoying and uncomfortable. So having booties, and these things are super lightweight and they can just fit in your pocket, totally worth it, a really good investment. So anyways, I think that's all there is to say about the sleeping system. I'll let you know if anything changes, but I think this is basically what I'm going to be going with for the rest of the winter. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll share it with someone that you care about. It helps them, it helps me, and it'll help you feel like a healthy type of person. If you're feeling extra generous, you can head on over to cahlen.org/gift, and there you can basically learn of ways to help me feed myself, shelter myself, and to upgrade and repair my gear. All donations give you the option of having a 1-hour life coaching call with me. So thanks again for watching.